welcome back to War Thunder and welcome aboard the American P51, the last step in the development of the P51, and this one is a P51 that I like, but there are certain issues with it. It's the prop with the highest, or the prop fighter with the highest battle rating in the game, with 6.7. That means you are mostly facing nothing but German jets. And yes, that is what I encountered in every battle so far. German jets. Me-262s, Horten, Heinkel 162s and Arados. Those are your main enemies or opponents. And the thing is, American teams, well, they have drawbacks. First of all, it's props versus jets, but then again, imagine going into the mind setting of a German jet pilot, what he has difficulties with. I'm talking here about acceleration, getting to altitude, high altitude performance, and also the 30 millimeters with a low muzzle velocity, sparking and so on, yada yada yada. How can you turn this to your advantage as a prop? Well, I fly this more or less like a Spitfire, like a Griffin Spitfire to be more precise. And that means I use my climb rate. I make, so to speak, an overwatch for my jets that will most likely succumb to the German jets. There are still a lot of very experienced German jet pilots out there, and you have to be patient. So this is not just an ace gameplay, this is also a demonstration how to be patient, how to make your strengths work, how to avoid your weaknesses, and yeah, also the use of situational awareness, experience, knowing also the strengths and weaknesses of my enemy, switching targets when it's preferable, staying on target when it is necessary, and yeah, trying to get not greedy. Now, the thing with a new aircraft is people with a lot of experience, mostly a lot of YouTubers, fly those aircraft and they give you a verdict. This plane is awesome. But very often it slips through their mind setting or through their explanation way in which way it is awesome and how the stock grind affects that. And it's so easy to forget about this. It's so easy to not speak about it, and I am guilty of that as well sometimes. But here I have to say the P51H has a lot of the strengths by default. It is even stock a plane that climbs decently well. It's a plane that also has good armament. It doesn't need any additional upgrades in terms of gun ports or something. Well, you could argue about it that the firepower is a bit so, and all that together just means one thing: use your mind, use your game sense. What do we learn from all the previous planes? We learn how 50 cals work. We know to not get into head-ons. We know that we should do teamwork. We know that we should support our teammates, that we shouldn't get greedy. Have I mentioned to not get into head-ons? We should climb or even side climb and use your speed to go into preferable situations. The P51 is one of the rare boom and zoomers, against jets at least, that deserves the name boom and zoomer. And look how I engage those enemies, and look what the Horten is doing. He's committing to turn fight against multiple opponents, and this Me-262 came out of nowhere. He could have had me right there, but he concentrated on the other P51H and struck him down, and he zooms through. That's a good thing. The Horten is doing the bad thing. He's turn fighting. The Horten is a fearsome jet when it is in a 1 versus 1. It leaves you no room. But in a multiple versus multiple, the Horten can be easily defeated, which sounds absurd, but this is more or less the Spitfire effect, that they are so, committed to the turn fighting that they can't escape anymore and they just get whittled down. And look at this, I avoided, the Me-262 because I saw him on the radar. This Horton is also coming out of a turn fight again, and I get some hits into him. He's smoked, and if you damage a smoke and eventually kill him, but if you just damage him, there is a time ticking for him, because the engines get weaker and weaker very fast, not like with a prop that loses most of its power just when it gets black. You know what I'm talking about. The effect for a jet is much more drastic than for a prop. And then look at the situation we have then. The Horton is obviously desperate, and he tries to get into a head-on, but then he avoids. So not the worst maneuver by him. And then it seems like I have no place anymore. But then this Me-262 is making a big mistake, and I can shred him. The lead is not the best, again, with a different convergence. I'm using here 600 meters convergence with a ground target belt. I could have made more damage, and yeah, then I abandoned the chase around about now, because it has no use to me to just get a few hits, having a lot of planes behind me and eventually get, well, aimed at by the Horton. And now look at this maneuver. The Horton switches target, goes up, I get the kill on the Me-262, shred the Horton, get that kill as well, and those are 3 kills. That's a quick double kill and 3 kills overall. I'm the prop here. I'm supposed to be the underdog, yet I have so many advantages. I have good acceleration, I have good top speed, but I cannot really compete in this respect with a jet. However, in a many versus many engagements, X versus X, a prop can be very dangerous. And what I fear in an Me-262 is not necessarily the P80s or the F84s, although played right they are very dangerous indeed. But, you know, the Griffin Spitfires, all the super props, Bearcats and so on, they're highly dangerous. However, the difference between the Bearcat or Bearcat, whatever you call it, and the Griffin Spitfire on the one side and the P51H is the firepower. You don't have 20 millimeters, you have 50 cals. So that firepower aspect is a little bit different. But as you could see, you have just you can sustain a long burst. You can get in those damaging hits and then whittle down your enemy. You don't get this exploding kills like with the American 20mm or a Hispano for the British. All that is very important. So the next message is have confidence in your plane. That is the most important message. I've played matches before where players said, oh great, we're fighting jets again. Oh man, so bad, we have no chance. And there is a certain truth to that. On a theoretical basis, you have no chance against an Me-262 if he has enough time to climb, if he has enough time to boom and zoom you, if he makes the correct 1 versus 1 engagement, attacks and so on, and if he doesn't make a mistake. But you can punish them hard. And I'm so confident in my P51H that I actually want to lure the Me-262 down. I count here on teamwork with the LA-11 or LA-9, I'm not quite sure. I'm putting on smoke, telling him in chat where to find us, but he has no interest after killing the B-17. Maybe he's damaged, but I don't see smoke trails. Maybe he's out of ammunition, very likely. Maybe he's low on fuel or something else. Could be. And for me the decision is what to do with 400 rounds at this point in time. Going back to base is the logical answer. Now, one thing that I really have to stress out about the P51 when it comes to, modules, is that the flaps are very sturdy. They go up to around about 600 kilometers an hour. That is very strong. But the gears, they are running into risk of ripping off at around about 270 kilometers an hour. For such a high-speed plane, that is strange, to say the least. And the next thing is, I'm going here now for the landing. that's my decision. We have the plane's advantage in sheer numbers, but the last two enemies seem to be very experienced Me-262s, and they are highly dangerous if played correctly. And also Me-262 can tank a lot of shells or rounds, even from 50 cals after the buff with the ground target belt, which seems to me, for me, the most effective one in pure damage output. It seems to be the most reliable one. And so with 400 rounds, it's difficult to reliably take down eventually two of them or damage them. And at this point in time, I also want to use the timer on the P51, or reset it rather, because you have 5 minutes of WEP, War Emergency Power, which gives you an amazing power output. So I want to go back to base and, well, then kind of getting back ammo and getting or resetting the internal timer on the engine, which is around about 5 minutes of boost or WEP. Now you can see the landing. I made it. It went well, but yeah. So I cut here out a long waiting time, because overall the match took 27 minutes or 26 minutes, and we are just at over 10 minutes. So there was like 15 minutes nothing. So here I just want to summarize the previous 10 minutes, what I did and what I didn't, that I just cut out. I was climbing back to altitude and I was observing our teammates getting dragged into AAA fire. One escaped it, and one, well, succumbed to the AAA fire around the enemy's base airfield. The last two enemy Me-262 pilots seem to be more experienced than the others, so I was just shadowing them. And here I can see that the last one is one of them is currently taking off, and the other one, I have no idea where he is. So again, let's just summarize how to play against jets in a prop. Use your superior climb rate. Jets have to accelerate to a high speed to get into the zoom climb. Then you are better in a prop or a super prop than a jet at higher altitudes. Me-262s are fast and they can accelerate, but just under 3,000 to 4,000 meters above that, it's really disgusting for them to perform at all. For Hortons, it's more of the same, but they have not that drop in performance at altitude that, well, in such a drastic way like the Me-262. Stay above them, dive on them when they're vulnerable, sneak on them, don't commit immediately to energy wasting maneuvers, and stay defensive up until the point you can go offensive. Yes, those are general advices for every prop plane, but the basics are important. If you master the basics, you really are not far away from becoming a good pilot. The more endgame scenarios you fly through, the more experience you get. Fly in squads and just learn from your mistakes, learn from your also victories. And here I'm opening up and, well, I just kill him, and he reacted way too late. I think he was AFK climbing, he was tapped out, and I just simply punished this. And here I try to close the distance as fast as possible to the Me-262, but I don't want to give up my altitude. So what I'm doing here is kind of a compromise. And I can do nothing to help the LA-9 or LA-11, still not quite sure, that fast. So I still have to count on engaging the Me-262 by myself. I need the altitude to be able to dive on him, because I know that the Me-262 can get faster but I see him maneuvering. That means he is very unlikely at his top speed. At his top speed I cannot catch him, but the difficulty with the ME262 is to go to top speed. For me it just takes a short dive on him to catch up with him. And look how I do it. I'm not directly diving on him, not just because it's a bad angle, but because he could just simply go into a head-on. But here, the second I'm sure that he cannot go into a head-on, I open fire and I quickly kill him. And that is a simple, quick ace in the P51H, which is not fully upgraded against, well, an entire German jet team. German jets can be very devastating, but just if you go into head-ons, just when you don't climb, just when you throw away all your advantages by going off the AAA positions. And so I guess, yeah, I did everything, well, not perfect, but good enough. I didn't lose my patience, I didn't go for the easy ground kills, and I was rewarded with over 113,000 silver lines and nearly 10,000 vehicle research points for a non-premium plane. And I also got the Survivor Award, an award that I highly desire for myself, as you will know by now. So that's a really great income, and I also was first in the team without going after any ground units. So I hope you enjoyed this commentary. I hope you could learn anything with it or from it. And yeah, if you like the gameplay, please give it a like, subscribe if you want to see more, and we'll see each other in the skies and on the battlefields of War Thunder.